Hello. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Megan Lenz, and I am the Assistant Director in the Office of Field Experiences, and I am also working on my master's degree in the Department of Teaching and Learning in General Curricular Studies. This semester I took Inclusion and Collaboration, and as much as I feel like I knew about special education and inclusion and collaboration, I learned a great deal during this class, but I also learned a great deal about myself and what my hopes and dreams are for the future of education. So let me talk a little bit about myself. Growing up in school, I did not do that well. I struggled. Some grades were definitely easier than others, and some grade levels were much harder. But no matter what, I always tried to do my best in school. I remember working on homework, being in my room, studying, and whatever it might be, but no matter what, I would get to school, I would take a test, and I would struggle. My hardest subjects were English and social studies because they tend to have more reading materials. And I struggled and struggled, and my parents, I remember them telling me, "Why aren't you studying?" And it's like, oh my goodness, I've been locked in my room for hours. I don't know why I'm not doing well. But no matter what, I just knew that I still wanted to do well in school, and I still had this passion for education. So I graduated high school and came to the University of Montana in hopes to becoming an elementary education teacher. My passion, third grade. Or hopes were third grade. And through my college classes, I still struggled. I had some classes that were better and easier than others, and some that were just really hard. And I remember taking one of my classes, and it was a hard class for me. It shouldn't have been as hard as it was. At least I didn't think it should be as hard as it was. And I went and took a midterm, and when I got the midterm back, I had a 57%. And I remember leaving that midterm thinking, I did pretty well. I mean, I knew it wasn't gonna be A+ work, but I was thinking B, at least B average. And so I made an appointment with the professor, and I was sitting down with her and kind of asking her, like, what did I do wrong? And she's like, well, your answers are incomplete. It's pretty stupid. I mean, it was basic information. You should have been able to get it. And essentially that professor called me stupid, and I am an emotional person, so of course I am crying in front of this professor. She just called me stupid, and that was heart-wrenching. I left that meeting and went home and talked to my parents and was like, I cannot do this. I cannot be a teacher. I'm stupid. And my mom told me to stop thinking that, and she said, well, let's go get you tested for a learning disability. I mean, I was a sophomore in college. I should have been tested younger. At least I thought I should have been. There's no way they're gonna do anything for me at the college level. So we went and I got tested, and it was multiple days and lots of meetings and tests and things like that to find out that I have a language processing disorder. So I might read a page, a chapter, whatever it might be, and I might not understand at all what I've read. I've read all of the words, but processing it and getting it in my brain was not there. And same with maybe if I did understand what I read, then to explain things, writing them out was even harder. So assignments that took my peers an hour was taking me 2 or 3 hours. And so I started to learn a few techniques, and yes, I made it through college. But here's the deal, when I met with that professor, she could have done things so much differently. I was thinking that I knew the materials, and what she could have done differently was asked me face to face, well, what do you think? Or how could you expand on that? Can you tell me in different words? I feel like she just limited it to, I had this much space to write and that's all that I had to do, and didn't give me any opportunity to explain that I understood or that I knew the materials. So as I began my teaching career, I started to think about ways that I could interact and connect with my kindergartners. I was a struggling student, and I wanted to make sure that I was able to reach the struggling students in my classroom. And so at the time, the big word was differentiated instruction. And I would make sure that I was doing all different kinds of things to help my students learn. Now, I taught in the ghetto of South Phoenix, and so my students did not know English, or most of them didn't know English. So not only was I teaching kindergarten, so I'm having to teach the basics of reading and writing and arithmetic, but I was also having to teach the English language. And as a struggler myself in school, I thought, well, what are ways that I can connect with these students? I would put movement to simple things like the months of the year or the days of the week. I would have my kids up and moving to help the kids who might be kinesthetic learners. I would let my kids, I guess you could say, wander around the classroom, because sometimes sitting as a kindergartner is really hard. So I was really trying to look at different ways that I could make sure that my students were learning. And if something wasn't working, try something else. I wanted to make sure that I was reaching my students, because I don't feel that as a student in elementary school or even in high school that my teachers and professors were giving me different ways to learn materials. So this now brings me to my current career, my current working on my master's. And this has been a huge struggle for me because I'm working on my master's. This is much harder work than I've ever done before in my life. And I struggle. Assignments that I think, I'm sure that my colleagues can get through a chapter in a book that we're reading in an hour. It might take me 3 hours. Again, I still struggle. And I come home and I talk to my husband and I'm like, I'm stupid, I can't do this. I'm never gonna get my master's. I can't do this. So what I have tried to do is talk to my professors at the beginning of the semester and let them know, I have a language processing disorder, and sometimes assignments are really hard. Now granted, I turn in my work on time, but I just want them to know that I do struggle, and I hope that they have an open door policy where I can talk to them. And last semester, my professor was amazing. Everybody in the class had to do a research paper. They had to find something and research on it, and then turn in that research paper for the assignment. And research papers are hard for me. I can research, I can get all of that information, I can do APA formatting and citing, but writing, getting my thoughts, what I know and have learned out on a paper is really hard. When I'm able to speak things, I feel like I have a better understanding and I can talk through things. And if I'm struggling or I don't understand a concept, I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna research it more, and then if I'm able to speak it out, I feel like I understand and internalize it even more. So I talked to my professor and I said, would it be okay if instead of doing a research paper, I do a presentation? And he let me do that. And as you can see, it really hit hard, right in my heart, because he understood that I struggled with writing and that my strength is speaking. Granted, I'm crying right now because this is an emotional part. It's empowering that my professor let me play to my strengths. And I was able to explain what I had researched to my peers, and that felt amazing. So the reason why I'm standing in front of you today is to explain that what my professor had done last semester and what I've learned this semester is the importance of universal design for learning. We've grown and so far in education to know that it is not simply, here is a standard and this is the one and only way that students show that they have achieved or met that standard. With universal design for learning, we have the opportunity to let children grow and show and learn in so many different ways. Think about the children that have struggled. Think about the children who struggle so much that they drop out of school. If their teachers had given them the opportunity to learn in a different way that maybe spoke to them or expressed their understanding in a different way to show that they really knew the material, do you think they would have dropped out? Do you think you would have as many behavior problems? So again, I'm here today to talk about universal design for learning and the importance of it. We need to teach our teachers about universal design for learning. Maybe they know about it and maybe they're scared to use it. Yes, it's a lot of work. I understand that it takes extra work when you're designing a lesson that can meet all different capacities within the classroom. But think about the children whose lives are going to be impacted. Those children are going to go places. A great man once said, "You have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any direction you choose. You are on your own and you know what you know, and you are the one who will decide where you go." Dr. Seuss was an amazing man, and think of the places that children can go if teachers can use universal design for learning. Thank you.